Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. For us Michigan fans, we are entering what I think is a very exciting 3 week stretch that is leading up to the game against Ohio State. Now, what I want to get into today, and it's going to be a little bit more off the cuff to the Michigan fans who've been rocking with the boys the last couple of weeks, this is going to be a little bit more all over the place with some takes that I want to get off my chest. But with the general conversation being, what's it going to take for Michigan to reach another gear? Because I'll start this episode with this. If I were to tell you this Michigan offense is averaging 6.4 yards per play, top 20 in the country, and also only allowing 4.5 yards per play, which is top 10 in the country. Like those are elite numbers, right? Well, why does it not feel like Michigan's an elite football team? Well, I think there's certain conversations and certain things that are holding this football team back. And if we can kind of work through those things over the next couple of weeks, this Michigan team has a chance, right, to be really damn good and really damn competitive at home against Ohio State. But you got to clean some of these things up. Really excited to get into this one. This is going to be a little bit all over the place, but I'm fired up. Before we do, and as always, to the Michigan fans, I do want to just say thank you. It's the best way to describe it as a Michigan fan. Been a frustrating, exciting, but stressful 2025 season. Like, this is a very young football team. That's a freaking blast to watch every single Saturday, but they make a lot of mistakes. It's been frustrating. I've been having a blast though, talking about this team and the amount of support that the Michigan fans have shown the boys. Been amazing. Appreciate you guys. Would love to hear some input in the comment section. Without further ado, let's get into this. Now, I want to start with this. The thing that gives me a general level of confidence and optimism is that it feels like the foundation and identity of this football team is kind of getting back to where we want to see it. Because you go back to 2024, I think the biggest frustration for a lot of us Michigan fans is, look, we knew we didn't have the quarterback play, right? That was no surprise. But I think what was really frustrating was, I mean, like the Michigan's offense, the identity, beating people up along the lines of scrimmage and being able to run the football against anybody, that wasn't there either. Like, you look at this Michigan team in 2025, and I'll say this: you, best way to put it, you're starting to see that identity emerge. And although this Michigan offense is inconsistent, and we'll get into what has led to the inconsistencies, this Michigan team can run the piss out of the football. We are back to being the bullies along the lines of scrimmage. That matters. That was the recipe that got us over the hump against Ohio State, that got us to Big Ten championships, got us to national championships. Now, if Michigan wants to win national championships and compete at the highest level of the sport, stick to the script that got Michigan there in the first place. And you're starting to see that come back. And I think what fires me up the most is, man, it's not only in the back half of 2025, but you start taking a sneak peek at 2026 and 2027. Like, we've learned one thing: Bryce Underwood, although not perfect yet, very, very talented quarterback that has every chance in the world to be an absolute difference maker in this sport. The storyline for me is the offensive line. This offensive line's been a hell of a lot better than I think a lot of people appreciate. I think that performance against Oklahoma week 2 on the road is burned into so many Michigan fans' minds that we're not really appreciating how much better this unit has gotten. It's top 5 in the country in running the football, and I'm looking at it, three redshirt freshmen that are starting and playing really damn good football. Who's the highest graded per PFF? Who is the highest graded pass protector on this Michigan offensive line? The answer would be Blake Frazier. Blake Frazier has been really good since taking over from Evan Link. Redshirt freshman, only getting better. To me, who's been the best run blocker on the Michigan offensive line? To me, that's probably Jake Winera at guard. Andrew Sprague's been really, really steady at right tackle pretty much the whole damn season. And then you start looking at what's 2026 going to look and say, all right, Evan Link's going to come back. I think there's a good chance that Evan Link plays guard in 2026. I think he can be a pretty damn good guard. Then you look at Andrew Babaloa coming back, a guy that was in the running to be a starting left tackle as a true freshman before the injury. He's going to be back. Got guys like Ty Haywood. Nate Afobe might transfer out, but another guy that Michigan likes in the middle of that offensive line. You're starting to say, hey, this offensive line's good in 2025, has the opportunity to be great in 2026. And then you look at, all right, Bryce Underwood at quarterback. You have Jordan Marshall coming back next year. Regardless if Justice Haynes comes back or not, he might very well go to the NFL. Well, you have Savion Hyder coming in, day one impact. I think Savion Hyder has the opportunity to be one of the best running backs that Michigan has had in a very long time. We think we can have an elite offensive line. We have a very, very talented quarterback with a phenomenal running back room. If we address the pass catchers, upgrade at that singular position, it feels like the sky's the limit for this Michigan offense in the 2026 year. Now, I want to take us back to 2025 because I want to focus on the next 3 weeks. What needs to be cleaned up? And again, I think the most frustrating part for a lot of us Michigan fans is you getting up here and telling us we're averaging 6.4 yards per play, top 20 in the country. Why does the scoreboard, why does Michigan's scoring metrics not reflect that? Well, one, we've had some uncharacteristic field goal kicking struggles, right? I think most importantly, we are not operating at anywhere close to an elite level when it comes to these money down, money situations. What I mean by that, it's one thing to go from the 20 to the opposite 20, go 60 yards down the field. But when you get inside the 20, you have to make sure that you're executing at a high level. 7 points versus 3 points. It's a big freaking deal when you're talking about what the scoreboard says. Michigan in the red zone this year, outside of the top 90 in scoring metrics, right? Just not scoring enough touchdowns, not scoring enough, period, when Michigan gets inside the 20. Michigan's moving the football a little bit better than I think people appreciate. When you get inside the 20 and you're not operating the right way, it's hard to have an elite offensive performance on the scoreboard. Number two, fourth downs. Money downs in general, because Michigan's outside of the top 50 in third down conversions, but fourth down, we're brutal. We're actually dead last in the country. 20% of our fourth down conversions. That is absolutely abysmal. And it just comes down to when you have the plays that can be made, you got to execute, right? It feels like Michigan on offense is a little bit farther away than I think they actually are. And it starts with on third downs and fourth downs. Just got to be a little bit cleaner with execution. When you get inside the 20, we got to be coming away with more touchdowns. If Michigan can clean those things up, it's not a personnel thing. Last year, we didn't really talk much about this because we knew Michigan couldn't jump levels. We didn't have a good enough offensive line. Certainly didn't have a good enough quarterback play. Michigan was stuck in the mud last year. There was no chance of getting unstuck. This year, it feels like at times we've been stuck in the mud. There's opportunities to get unstuck. I think the other thing that's really frustrating for a lot of us Michigan fans, certainly a little frustrating for me, it feels like Michigan goes through waves on offense where it looks great. But then all of a sudden we kind of get stuck and we lose that rhythm. And what I wanted to do was, all right, let's go back and identify when Michigan's offense has been running at its best. I think easily, and I think the conversation is, all right, when's Bryce Underwood been at his best? He's had one game where he looked damn near elite, and that was against Washington. He went 21 of 27 with a couple of really bad drops, 230, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Against the Washington defense that I don't think's elite, but I certainly don't think it's all that bad, especially in the back end. And Bryce Underwood looked awesome. Well, what was different about that football game as opposed to a lot of other games we've seen where Michigan has struggled to maintain their rhythm? There's one really, really obvious number here. Yards after the catch, average depth to target. Bryce Underwood's average depth to target was only 4 yards down the field in that game. That's not me getting up here and saying Bryce can't push the ball down the field, but there was a really, really strong emphasis of Chip Lindsey as the play caller say, we want the ball out quick. We want, even if it's some short intermediate passes, we want the ball out quick. to our playmakers in space, and let's really emphasize Bryce Underwood having that completion percentage go up a little bit. Give him some easier throws to get into a rhythm. We did that all game. Move the football as good as Michigan has moved it all year. Time to throw was 2.6 seconds. Very, very, I mean, the ball was getting out of Bryce's hands. And so the ball's getting out quick. The ball's going out on time and accurately. And all of a sudden, Bryce Underwood was really starting to feel it, right? Like many other quarterbacks, Bryce Underwood is a rhythmic thrower of the football. Against Purdue the other weekend, he was out of rhythm, right? Wants to see the ball go through the hoop a little bit, to put it in basketball terms. When Michigan has built that into their offensive game plan, that's when this offense has looked the best, and that's when Bryce Underwood has looked the best. Lastly, right? Because there's one thing Michigan knows they can do, and this separates them from a lot of other offenses, their ability to run the football. There are a lot of really good football teams, including Ohio State, that struggle to run the football. Michigan's not one of them. And so you have that identity that you can lean on. Now the conversation is, how can we have the passing attack better complement what Michigan's doing running it? That's what made 2023's offense so damn good. Michigan could run the football with a veteran good offensive line, Donnie Edwards and Blake Corum. But when they wanted to throw the football, they were working play action and had a quarterback that could make those throws in JJ. Bryce Underwood can make those throws too. Let's have that passing game work a little bit more complementary. And the other thing I'll say is the RPOs in that game. Like Michigan was really working the RPO, simplifying what Bryce Underwood was seeing a little bit, making a little bit easier. Hey, you got only a couple of decisions to make. Simplify, give Bryce Underwood the throws, he gonna make them, is something that we've learned. Now on the defensive side of the football, I'll say this: defense very, very similar to last year, starting to find its form. Now, I think what's most frustrating for us Michigan fans is last year when Wink Martindale was in year one, we were a little bit more understanding of, hey, taking a feeling out process before we hit our stride. This year, it's frustrating because it took Michigan still some time to figure it out. But you're starting to see this defense dominate the last couple of weeks. And there was a turning point, and it was against USC on the road where Michigan gave up nearly 500 total yards, 7.2 yards per play, got freaking diced up by a very good USC offense, arguably the best offense in the country. There's no offense where Michigan should be getting whipped like they did out there in LA. There's a fundamental change after that USC game. That fundamental change was, we're not going to blitz as much. Like we were bringing a lot of pressure at USC. We were getting beat with some misdirection stuff. We were getting beat with a lot of screens. We were getting beat with a lot of quick game, and said, hey, we got to maybe dial it back a little bit. Michigan only blitzed 30% of snaps against Washington, held Washington to under 250 total yards, averaging only 4.5 yards per play. Against Michigan State, you only blitzed 27%. That Michigan blitzed over 50% of the time when they went on the road to USC. So we're significantly pulling back the amount of blitz packages we're sending. Against Michigan State, 300 total yards, 4.2 yards per play. Against Purdue, 276 yards, 4.2 yards per play. Again, this is not a USC offense, but you feel like this defense has hit their stride, and you got to give some credit to Wink Martindale saying, hey, what I've been calling maybe is not working. We don't necessarily need to blitz the way I've been blitzing. When you have Derek Moore and you have Rayshawn Benny and you have TJ Guy and you have Jayshon Barham coming off the edge, you don't need to send 5 or 6 guys to manufacture pressure on the quarterbacks. The teams that blitz the most, they blitz because they don't have Derek Moore's on their front four, on their defensive line. When you have those kind of guys, you don't need to bring 5, 6 guys in pressure packages when you can get pressure with your 4. Michigan's kind of realized that. They've dialed it back and played the best defense they've had all season long the last 3 games. Defense is figuring it out. We know the blueprint is there for the offense. We just need a little bit more consistency. These are some things that I've identified that can maybe let Michigan reach that next gear. There's another gear to be reached. I am very positive for Michigan. Now it's a matter of going out and reaching that gear over the next couple of weeks with the ultimate goal of, hey, 9-2, heading into that Ohio State game where Julian Sayin, a Southern California quarterback, has to come up to Ann Arbor in the back half of November and say, hey, that game is going to be played out the way Michigan wants to play it, right? The way those games have been played the last couple of years. But you got to reach that form first, because I don't think this version of Michigan, the way they are playing, this team can't beat Ohio State. If you fix these things over the next couple of weeks, maybe you give yourself a shot. But here's the other thing: are we not? And I'll say this: I'm not necessarily sold on Sherrone Moore as an elite head football coach, but I am getting pretty damn sold on how he's building this roster, which really, really matters. Now it's just this is Sherrone Moore's opportunity the next 3 weeks to sell us on what he can be as a head football coach. Very, very excited. It's been a very fun team. Once you kind of, and I say this and dang well, knowing dang well that I've been very frustrated at times in 2025, but I'll say this: once you kind of get past the frustration, you just say, this is a young football team. Let's go enjoy them growing up. Becomes a really fun team to watch. Now, I got to work on it myself. I'm sure many Michigan fans would agree to that. But it's going to be a really, really fun back half of November. And it feels like there's another level for Michigan to reach. The question is, can we go out and reach it? Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.